Unbelievable. The ending of that game, Minnesota, New Orleans, something else. I don't think I've ever seen a finish quite like that. Maybe the closest I can think of is the Music City Miracle. I've seen crazy plays. Last year's Super Bowl, when Julian Edelman had that crazy catch where the ball seemingly floated off the ground, didn't touch the ground, and he somehow caught it between three defenders. The David Tyree helmet catch, that's up there. The Pittsburgh Steelers against the Arizona Cardinals Super Bowl, the catch in the back of the end zone. I can't remember exactly which wide receiver it was that caught it, but I mean, this is right up there and probably the top 10 craziest finishes in the NFL playoffs of all time. So last week was a very good week. I was correct against the spread on the first three games. I had New England winning a blowout. I had Jacksonville covering. They ended up winning outright. And I had Philadelphia over Atlanta. I did pick New Orleans. And when I made the pick, it was at, I believe, +4. So technically I lost. However, if you got it later in the week, it was +5. And I believe it was +5.5 at kickoff in Vegas. So technically, if you got New Orleans late or even at kickoff, you either pushed or won. So we'll call it a push. So 3 wins and a push. Not bad. This week, obviously, championship week, huge weekend of football. I don't know what else to say. There really isn't much to say. Just 2 games. Getting close to the Super Bowl here. But let's get started here. So first game on the board, Jacksonville, New England. Jacksonville surprised everyone, went into Pittsburgh and just utterly dominated them. 45-42 final score. Impressive display of both offense and defense. I mean, they look like the real deal. Excellent team. New England obliterated Tennessee. And it happened exactly like I said. Tennessee hung tough for about a quarter or two, and then they got annihilated. So I was reading ESPN. New England had the theoretical easiest road to the AFC Championship game, or to the Super Bowl ever since 1990. Just because they ended up playing like a 5 seed and a 3 seed due to upsets. So, I mean, seeding, records doesn't account for momentum. It doesn't necessarily mean a lot in the big picture. I mean, people like to talk about it and blow it up like it's a big deal. The truth of the matter is, you can be a lower seeded team and still be the better team. On that day, the lower seeded team was the better team. So was it technically an upset? Same with the NCAA tournament. There's a lot of lower seeds that beat higher ranked teams because they were better on that day. Is that truly an upset if they were the better team? I don't know. Maybe over the course of a season, they weren't the better team, but on that given day, they were the better team. So is it truly an upset? I don't know. I mean, maybe once in a while, a better team will just have a really lousy day and they'll shoot terribly or play terrible, have a bunch of turnovers. And then, yes, I guess you could say the worst team technically beat them, but at least on that day, you were not the better team. Any case, right now, Jacksonville is sitting at 8.5-point underdogs at New England. Over-under is 46.5 points. A smart man would take Jacksonville here because 8.5 points is a lot. Jacksonville has a great D. They dominated Pittsburgh. They're on a roll. They're playing well both on offense and defense. You have to be a fool not to take the 8.5 points. Well, unfortunately for you, you're looking at a fool because I'm taking New England -8.5 or -9, depending on where you get it. They're too good. Tom Brady, best of all time. Bill Belichick, best of all time. Rob Gronkowski, probably one of the best tight ends of all time. They're the best coach team. They rarely make mistakes. Jacksonville recently, they got lit up by San Francisco, by Tom Brady's understudy, Jimmy Garoppolo, not too long ago. They got lit up by Pittsburgh. I mean, Pittsburgh made some amazing plays to do that, but they still got lit up. So their defense, as good as it is still, I don't know, maybe later in the season, a little bit of a liability. So clearly teams are figuring out ways to score on them. So we're taking New England here, -8.5, -9. There's just too much experience. They've been there too many times before. They're not going to overlook Jacksonville. They're playing at home. They've got every reason to win this game. Yes, the value is in Jacksonville, no doubt about it. Or even in the money line with Jacksonville, there's excellent value there. But I'm not here to pick value. I'm here to pick winners, and that's why I'm picking New England. Now, if you want to pick a bet that is probably arguably slightly safer than New England by 8.5, it's probably the over of 46 or 46.5. There's very likely, if Jacksonville is going to beat New England, more likely than not, they're going to have to score both offensively and defensively. Whereas New England, I mean, they're going to get their points. They're going to get at least 14, 21 points. I just have a hard time believing this is going to be a defensive struggle the whole game, and there's just no scoring unless there's a big storm coming through. That I've heard there was going to be another storm, whatnot. So if that's the case, then it's a different story. But it's still Wednesday. It's early in the week. As far as I know, weather's going to be fine. I like the over, and that may actually be the better play. Because who knows? Jacksonville, always chance for garbage time touchdowns, this and that. But, I think New England should take care of business. They had a relatively easy go at it, had the extra week of rest. They can just crush all these AFC South teams easily. We're just going with New England. Part of me wants to take Jacksonville. Who doesn't like a good underdog story? They've been playing so well this season, but the storybook story ends here. All right, next game, Minnesota, Philadelphia. I don't know what else to say. Everyone in the world probably has seen this game by now. New Orleans had the game won, just as I had expected. Drew Brees is just too good. You can't keep him down. It was back and forth at the end, just as I thought. A lot of scoring in the fourth quarter. So, I mean, if you go back to my last video, you can even listen to exactly what I said, and it ended up almost exactly as I had said it. Game went over. Everything went exactly as planned, except for the last second touchdown, really. Who could have predicted that? So, all I have to say is that apparently God is the Minnesota fan this year. Every year he picks a new team. This year it's Minnesota. So, with that said, how can you pick against the Minnesota Vikings? If they have God on their side, they've got the home field or potential home field to play for the following week or 2 weeks later for the Super Bowl. It's just too much of a good opportunity to pass up. No team has ever played in their home stadium in the Super Bowl. That streak needs to end now. Now, will they win by 3 points? I don't know. It's probably going to be close. But we're going to take Minnesota -3. God's on their side. They're going to win this game. Philadelphia. I feel bad for Philadelphia and their fans because they can't catch a break. Misery probably will never end. Probably the second unluckiest team, second only to the Browns. They've had a great season. Too many injuries. I just think that Minnesota is too talented, offense and defense, truthfully, for Philadelphia to win this game. Nick Foles is a great backup, a great quarterback, but short of a dominant defensive performance that just carries them to victory, I just feel that Minnesota is the overall better team. I mean, they played incredibly well this whole season. So is Philadelphia, but and of course, Philadelphia, they're not going to lay down. They're going to play hard, but I just think Minnesota is going to, in the third or fourth quarter, they're going to get the lead and sustain it. and then Nick Foles will have to do a little too much to try to win, and probably won't be able to do it just because he didn't get the reps in the season to get the chemistry he needed to pull something like that off, pull the miracle on Philly, which probably is not going to happen. I went with Minnesota. Now the over-under, it's a little unusual. I've seen this number fluctuate. It's a 38.5 to start. I've seen it go as low as I think 37.5, and now I've seen one up as high as 39. My first instinct was to just take the over. The points are so low. It's like, it's going to be a close game, probably go over. But why is the number so low? Well, both teams have great defenses. Both teams, had a little bit of shaky play in quarterback recently. It might be cold. It might be weather involved. So I could definitely see this game potentially going under. But I'm just gonna stick with the over as my gut instinct. Don't listen to me on this one. I'm probably wrong. I'm going over 39. The correct play is probably going to be the under. But we're going to Minnesota -3 and the over of 39. Now, I do have one question, and maybe someone knows the answer to this. But if Minnesota and New England both go to the Super Bowl, okay, then that's a big if, because it might be Philly and Jacksonville, which would be disappointing. But let's say they both go to the Super Bowl. Because New England is the higher seeded team, does that mean they get to stay in the home locker room? And then the Minnesota Vikings have to play out of the visitors' locker room? That would be quite interesting. So I don't know. If anyone knows the answer to that, let me know. I'm actually kind of curious. But that would be an interesting twist if you had to play in the visitors' locker room because you're the lower seed in the Super Bowl. But who knows? I don't know if they would do that to them. And also the fan base may not be as Minnesota heavy. I'm sure it would probably be relatively Minnesota heavy just because it's so easy to get there from Minnesota, but it would probably be more of a neutral fan base just because in the Super Bowl, they try to distribute the tickets more evenly. So the Minnesota Vikings probably wouldn't have quite as much of an advantage with the crowd as they normally do in a home game, but I would still suspect them to have like a 60-40 advantage in the crowd. All right. Well, that's what I have for you this week. Let me know in the comments if you like it, if I'm crazy, if you completely disagree. But that's what I'm going with. And, see you in the Super Bowl. All right. See you guys later.